بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, today will be the first class of Al-Waraqāt, a book in regards to Uṣūl al-Fiqh. And as we all know, there are different sciences that a student of knowledge covers, such as the science of Quran and its explanation, tafsir and its sciences, Uṣūl al-Tafsir. And there's also something called Ulūm al-Quran. And the other science that usually a student of Talib al-Ilm covers is the science of Hadith, Uṣūl al-Hadith, and the reading of the Hadith itself. And the third science, there's many more sciences, and the third science a student of knowledge covers is the fiqh and Uṣūl al-Fiqh. So today, inshallah, will be the first class in regards to the science of Uṣūl al-Fiqh, the subject of Uṣūl al-Fiqh. Before we get into the book, I do not want to make anything long. I want to keep it short, concise, so anyone who listens to this will be able to benefit from the book itself and a little from me. What is the difference between fiqh and Uṣūl al-Fiqh? The easy way to put it is this. I'm sure a lot of you guys like food, cuisines, different types of cuisines. One of the cuisines I like is the mandi, chicken mandi, lamb mandi, right? So the way I explain fiqh and Uṣūl al-Fiqh is like this. Fiqh is the ruling given to you by the scholars. This is haram, this is wajib, this is sunnah, this is fard. In a nutshell, this is a food presented to you. Meaning, imagine lamb mandi is presented to you, that is what fiqh is. Nobody asks, how did you make it? What were the recipes used? What were the ingredients used? Who made it? Who were the ones who were working on it and making this dish? No one asks this question. Those who ask it become the students of knowledge. So the food that is presented to you is fiqh, and the ingredients behind it, and those who want to learn it, the ingredients and all the recipes and stuff, you put it in a nutshell as Uṣūl al-Fiqh. Meaning, how did you get to the point of calling this mas'ala, this ruling, a wajib, mas'ala, wajib, fard, sunnah, other terms you want to use, or nafil, okay? So this is what Uṣūl al-Fiqh and fiqh is in a nutshell. Now, let's start with the book itself. We have 4 things to cover, inshallah, in this lesson. One is the Matn al-Waraqāt, the text itself of the Shaykh, we'll mention about him. The second thing is the nazam of the text, meaning the text being put into a poetical format. The third thing we'll cover is the derive, Al-Waraqāt, the workbook on the science, on the subject, And the fourth will be the sharih, the commentary we'll be using for this book. So for all those 4 authors, I will be going over them in an order so we understand those authors' background and we also understand why we're learning this science. So the first one is the author of Al-Waraqāt. His full name is Abdul Malik bin Abdullah bin Yusuf bin Muhammad al-Juwaynī al-Nisaburi. This was his name. Who was this person? He was a person born in a city called Nisabur, which in our time will be one of the countries in the mountain area, meaning the people of mountain we call them, right? Dagestan, Bukhara, Samarkand, Nisabur is one of them. So he was from there. The reason why the book is known as Al-Waraqāt, and the author is called Abdul Malik al-Juwaynī. This is the name of this author that he is well known for. The reason why al-Juwaynī is there is because one of these suburb cities in Nisapur was al-Juwayn. And this sheikh was from that city. Some say it wasn't him that was from the city, it was his father that came from the city. Even though they moved on, they migrated from there, but his father was part of it, was born there. Therefore, this author is called Abdul Malik al-Juwaynī. Juwaynī has become his nisbah, his affiliation to a city. Now, what were his kunyas? Meaning, what was he known as? Abu something, Abu Hirra, Abu Zainab. What was his kunya? His kunya was Abu al-Ma'ali. His kunya was Abu al-Ma'ali, and his laqab, his title was Imam al-Haramain, the Imam of Haramain Sharifain. The reason why he was called the Imam of the Haramain Sharifain is because he went, after learning from his father and the other mashayikh of the city, to Mecca, Medina, and he studied there with the scholars. And not just studied there, he also taught there for multiple years. Some scholars say he taught there for 4 years, some scholars say he taught for many years, but he taught in both cities of Mecca. That's why he's called the Imam al-Haramain Sharifain. Now the question comes, which century was he from? He was from the 4th century. He was born in 419 Hijri. Upon the most preferred aqwal, ala arjah al-aqwal, is that he was born on 415 Hijri. Now, the other thing is that, what was his family like? What was his family background like? It is said about him, inshallah, we'll cover about him too, inshallah, that his family was a family of knowledge and ilm. His father was an alim, his uncle was an alim. His father was a sheikh of Shafi'i fiqh, because Sheikh Abdul Malik al-Juwaynī himself was a Shafi'i scholar. But this book, Al-Waraqāt, as we'll cover, is not just a Uṣūl al-Fiqh book for Shawafi'. It's a book that is used by Madhahib al-Arba'ah to learn Uṣūl al-Fiqh, to learn the basic Uṣūl al-Fiqh. His uncle was also a faqih, was also an alim, a mufti. Now, let's talk about his teachers and his students. His first teacher was his father. His name is Abu Muhammad al-Juwaynī. He taught him fiqh and Uṣūl al-Fiqh. His other teacher was Abu al-Qasim Abdul Jabbar al-Isfirani, who taught him Uṣūl al-Fiqh. His third teacher was Al-Hafiz Abu Nu'aym al-Asbahani, very famous scholar for his tabaqat. He was his teacher who taught him hadith and fiqh. The fourth teacher he had was, these are famous teachers, okay? Al-Qadi Hussein al-Marwazi, who was a Shafi'i scholar in the city of Khurasan. These were the famous teachers of this Shaykh Abdul Malik al-Juwaynī. Now, let's talk about some of his famous students. The most famous one of them is Abu Hamid al-Ghazali. The very famous scholar, Imam al-Ghazali, was a student who was known as Hujjat al-Islam wal-Muslimin, the evidence or proof that Muslims can use for representing their deen. His other student was Al-Kaya al-Harasi, who became a faqih and also an usuli, meaning who taught Uṣūl al-Fiqh, an expert of Uṣūl al-Fiqh, and he was also a mufassir. He taught tafsir of the Quran. His third well-known student was Abdul Rahim bin Abdul Karim Abu Nasr bin al-Qushayri. And the fourth famous student of his is Abdul Ghafir bin Ismail al-Farisi, muhaddith wa mu'arrikh. He was a muhaddith and also he was a historian. Now, this is very briefly going over his teachers, some of his famous teachers and some of his famous students. Now, moving on to talking about him himself. What did the scholars say about him? ثناء العلماء عليه. What were the praises given to him from the scholars? Everyone agreed that he was the Imam of his time. Abu Sa'ad al-Sam'ani says, كان أبو المعالي إمام الأئمة على الإطلاق مجمعا على إمامته شرقا وغربا لم تر العيون مثله. That everyone agrees or is in agreement that Abu al-Ma'ali, his kunya, was the Imam of A'imma على الإطلاق by default. From east to west. لم تر العيون مثله. No one has seen someone like him. He was that great of a scholar. Another scholar, his name is Abu Ishaq al-Shirazi. He says, تَمَتَّعُوا بِهَذَا الْإِمَامِ فَإِنَّهُ نُزْهَةُ هَذَا الزَّمَانِ. Benefit from this scholar because he is the cream of the crop of his time. Look at the praise. That he is the cream of the crop of his time, so learn from him. Third one, and I love this one. His name is Abu al-Hasan al-Bakhirzi. He says about him is this. Al-Fiqh, Fiqh Shafi'i. His methodology of fiqh was of Shafi'i fiqh. His adab, meaning skills in adab, in Arabic literature, was of Al-Asma'i, very famous Nahu scholar. Very well known. And number 3, the way he gave his sermons, his lectures and khatara, it was like the khatara of Al-Hasan al-Basri. I'll read the Arabic. Al-Fiqhu Fiqh Shafi'i, wal-Adabu Adabu al-Asma'i, wal-Wa'adu Wa'adu al-Hasan al-Basri. These were the praises, and there are multiple praises mentioned in Tabaqat that basically mentions about his greatness and his presence in his ummah and his community. The fifth thing about let's talk about the fifth thing about him is mu'allafatuhu wa wafatuhu. His books that he authored and his death. Ahamul mu'allafat, we'll talk about the main books of his, okay? The first one, Al-Burhan fi Uṣūl al-Fiqh. This was the biggest book he wrote. Al-Burhan fi Uṣūl al-Fiqh. You know how we're covering Al-Waraqāt? One of his essential Uṣūl al-Fiqh book. He wrote another book called Al-Burhan fi Uṣūl al-Fiqh, which is the most in-depth book in the science of Uṣūl al-Fiqh. Another book he wrote, Al-Waraqāt fi Uṣūl al-Fiqh. This is the book, inshallah, we'll be going over within a few lessons, inshallah. The third book he wrote is Nihayatul Talabi fi Dirayat al-Madhabi. This book is in regards to Fiqh al-Shafi'i, explaining the methodology or the Shafi'i fiqh. The fourth book he wrote is Al-Aqidah al-Nizamiyya wal-Shamilu fi Uṣūl al-Din, writing a book on Aqidah and Ilm al-Kalam called Al-Aqidah al-Nizamiyya. And the last book, Al-Kafiyatu fil Jadali, another book that he wrote, one of the famous books he wrote, Al-Kafiyah fil Jadali. These are some of his well-known books that students still benefit from. And just imagine if students in our time are benefiting from this book, Al-Waraqāt fi Uṣūl al-Fiqh, which is the essential book, a mubtadi' book, a beginner level book of Uṣūl al-Fiqh. Imagine and students really benefit from this book. I've heard a lot about this, inshallah, of this book. Then we can only imagine how much students have benefited and benefit from Al-Burhan fi Uṣūl al-Fiqh. Now, when did he pass away? He passed away on 25th of Rabi'ul Awwal in 478 Hijri. In 478 Hijri. Okay? Meaning in late 4th century he passed away. This was the scholar, Imam Abdul Malik al-Juwaynī. Now, moving on from his life to his book. Now let's talk about his book. Now, do we know for sure that this book is authentically ascribed to him? Is it true that this book that is written, Al-Waraqāt, Al-Waraqāt, the text of Waraqāt, is it really his? Scholars are in agreement and they have given their consensus that yes, this book is written by Imam al-Haramain, Imam Abdul Malik al-Juwaynī. It's his book. Now, what is the title of this book? The well-known title, the title that this book is known for is Al-Waraqāt fi Uṣūl al-Fiqh. Now the question comes, why is this? What's the reasoning of calling this book Al-Waraqāt? Scholars disagreed, but then afterwards they all came to a conclusion that if you were to open the first page of the book, it says هذه ورقات تشتمل على فصول من أصول الفقه. This is the first text that he has written for this book. So from this, the scholars derived, and the scholars come to an agreement that the Shaykh wanted to call this book Al-Waraqāt because it's few pages. If inshallah we'll have a PDF in the link. If you open this book on a PDF, you will see only 13 pages. Meaning it's a very small and very concise book. Why? Because a student of knowledge who's a new student of knowledge, a beginner level student of knowledge, should learn only few pages of Uṣūl al-Fiqh first and get the crux of it, the cream of it, the real juice of it. So he says Al-Waraqāt because it's very simple, very easy, very concise, so everyone can benefit from. This is why the book is called Al-Waraqāt fi Uṣūl al-Fiqh. What are the topics of it? Inshallah, we won't go into it, but the book is divided into two sections. Al-Muqaddimah, the introduction of the book, which has the meaning of Uṣūl al-Fiqh, which has the ta'rif, the definition of what is usul, what is fiqh, and many other discussions under it. Inshallah, when we go over the book, inshallah, we'll break it down. And the other section it has are a bunch of chapters, meaning he goes over multiple chapters within his 13 pages of his book, talking about al-amr, al-nahi, al-aam, al-khas, al-mujmal, al-mubin, al-zahir, al-mu'awwal, and many other topics. So the book is divided into two main sections, and each section has its own details and its own content. Inshallah, when we go over the book, we'll go over that. What is the importance of this book? I'm sure we all have so far realized, if we are learning this book, if you're teaching this book, if you're benefiting from this book, it speaks volumes. The students are really finding this book of Al-Waraqāt to be a beneficial book, a kitab, al-nafi', al-mufid. Now the question comes, how can we study this book in depth? What are the shuruhat of it? What are the hawashi of it? What are the commentaries of this book? And what are the side notes of it? So the first sharah that is mentioned is the sharah of Jalaluddin al-Mahalli, which we will be using to explain this text. Bi-idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. The other sharah of this book is of Muhammad bin Uthman al-Maradini. His sharah is called Al-Anjumul al-Zahirat. The third scholar who has written a sharah on this is his name is Muhammad bin Muhammad al-Ra'ini al-Hattab. His sharah is called Qurratul Ayn. The fourth scholar who has written a sharah on this is his name is Ahmad ibn Qasim al-Ibadi, and he has two sharah on it. One is al-Saghir, a small sharah, and the other one is a big sharah, al-Kabir. And people just didn't write sharah on this. Scholars didn't just write sharah on it. There's also manzumat on it. So there's two things to keep in mind: an-nathar wa an-nazm. What is an-nathar? An-nathar is a text of the book. When you open a book and you see a sentence written down, for example, I'm just going to give an example to you so we understand what nathar is. الأحكام سبعة الواجب والمندوب والمباح والمحظور والمباح والمكروه والصحيح والباطل. This is a nathar. Now imagine a student was to memorize it, he would find it a little difficult. Now imagine if he had turned this book, this little sentence, into a couplet, into a poetical format. It will make it easy for the students to memorize. Now you call that a nazm. So scholars realize the importance of a nazm, so they turned this entire 13 pages book into a manzuma, meaning a student can memorize this entire text in a poetical format. So if somebody wants to recall something, they can easily recall it. So inshallah, I encourage everyone, inshallah, to memorize this. Inshallah, I encourage you as well, Murad, to memorize, and others here to memorize this manzuma. It's better to memorize the manzuma than to memorize the kitaba. It's very easy for students of knowledge. So there's two scholars who have written a manzuma on it. I'm sure there's multiple scholars, but there's two scholars I found. One is Sharafuddin Yahya bin Musa al-Amriti, and the other scholar is called Muhammad Mustafa Ma'ul Aynain al-Maghribi. And one of the scholars we'll discuss about is this scholar, Sharafuddin bin Yahya bin Musa al-Amriti, because I have his nazm manzuma with me as well. I have stapled it together, so this is the manzuma, and this is the matan of the Waraqāt. So both are here. So when we talk about this scholar, we'll go over that inshallah. And the scholars, what are some praises given to this book? Al-Waraqāt. Scholars say this is the most beneficial book a mubtadi' can benefit from. اعترف العلماء بقيمته للمبتدئين. They have realized the importance of this book for a beginner level of student of knowledge. The way Shaykh al-Amriti, the one who has written the nadam of this, there is a text from him. It's mentioned in his muqaddimah. He says, وَخَيْرُ كُتُبِهِ الصِّغَارِ مَا سُمِّيَ بِالْوَرَقَاتِ الْإِمَامِ الْحَرَمِي. He says one of the best books, as-sighar, one of the most concise, small books that a student can benefit from is called Al-Waraqāt of Imam Harami, meaning Imam of Haramain Sharifain. And on this we conclude the whole biography of Imam Abdul Malik al-Juwaynī and his shuruh and the shuruhat and the hawashi that are written on this book, and the praises that ulama have given for Al-Waraqāt. Inshallah, next thing we'll begin will be the Nadam al-Waraqāt, meaning this scholar, his name is Shaykh al-Amriti, will go over his bio, so that student, when he is memorizing Nadam al-Waraqāt, the text, the poetical text of Al-Waraqāt, they recall who the scholar was, what he did, what he studied, all that stuff, inshallah, in our section, in our next section, inshallah.